All right. I always love it when it turns red. It's that moment of, should I talk now or should I wait a half second and then talk? Well, anyway, I'm going to talk now. I've been talking for a couple seconds. Hey, this is Brent Leary. And once again, I'm back with what I like to call the BBC. Not that one, the Brent Broadcasting Channel. So we've been doing this for, I don't know. I've been sheltering in place for about going on 5 months now, something like that. Thankfully, I know a lot of really smart people, a lot of people doing a lot of cool things, even in the midst of a pandemic. And the person that you are seeing me with right now is definitely one of those folks. His name is Denis Pombriant. He is the what do you call yourself? Managing director of Beagle Research?
I usually say managing principal, but I don't even put that on my business card anymore.
Because he is Beagle Research. He is the guy. So
I call myself a customer scientist now.
I like that. That's really cool. And not only that, he is one of the original apocalyptic guys, one of the four horsemen of the CRM apocalypse. Which one are you, though? We never, because we know like Esteban is pestilence. That's already like a given. But
people always called me Shemp.
Okay, so that means that could mean a number of things. Does that mean Paul would be like Mo?
Could be Mo, Larry, Curly, Shemp.
I want to mean Mo because at least he dishes out as much punishment as he takes. Those other guys, like Larry, forget he just gets killed. Hey, it's a pleasure to have you on, and it's actually a pleasure to have you on outside of Gilmore Gang, which is something that we do together too.
Yes, in fact, we were just on Gilmore Gang this weekend. That was a fun show too.
I like doing Gilmore Gang because it's a little different from the stuff that I usually do. And Steve is just hilarious to work with because he's just an interesting guy. He does things a different way, which makes things intriguing sometimes.
Yeah, he's got a world of experience too. A long career doing a lot of different things. So, just a conversation with him, I always learn something.
Absolutely. Like he can talk about like playing around with David Sanborn and how he almost met Miles Davis. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that draws me in right there. So.
Oh yeah. He met George Harrison in a very, brief meeting. But I mean, he's got great stories. I didn't know about Miles Davis though.
Yeah, you got to ask him about it. I think it's a near miss or something like that.
So. Yeah.
But I just wanted you to know that I actually broke out a brand new Rams cap. I've never worn this one before. So this just for your honor, man.
Very nice. Very nice. I thought you were going to say it was the Washington team to be named later.
No, that would be like a Washington blank right now because nobody really knows what that's going to be. But no, but I'm glad to take some time and talk with you because you just recently released a research project that you did with the folks over at Zoho. And what exactly is the title of it? Because I just know the headline, which is more than half of North American businesses basically say that the technology that their company has is not quite getting it done. But give us the overall, lowdown on the study, like the methodology, when it was done, all that kind of stuff.
Well, to answer your first question first, I don't know what it's called because we haven't released the report. They slurped all of the data into their analytics tool, and the tool is a wonderful Ginsu knife for slicing and dicing. And they found more stuff in the data than I did, and more power to them. Great on them. I did a post at CRM Buyer this week called Improving Company Performance. And basically, they came to me and said, what do you think about doing a study on employee engagement? And I said, fine, I've got this methodology that I use. I buy data from a company that has a 1 million name database. And so what I'm able to do is to say, hey, I want 500 C-level officers from small, medium, and large companies. And bingo, I get them. So, gone are the days when I used to buy a list from a magazine and it would be populated with 20% grad students or something, right? So it's really good data. And in this case, we surveyed a little bit over 500 people. And for this research, we wanted line of business workers, not C-level officers and stuff like that. So if you're going to do employee engagement, I did some research, and one of my favorite places to go is Harvard Business Review online. And I found an article that I really liked that said, employee engagement is the result of a few things. It's not a thing in itself. It's the result of how well are your employees aligned with what you're doing, how well are they led, how well are they trained, and then you get engagement out the other end. So we designed a questionnaire that would look at all four of those things. We actually grouped alignment and competence together, and technology and employee engagement. What we discovered was that employees really kind of like what they're doing. And yeah, here's a picture. Employees kind of liked their jobs, thought their bosses were pretty cool, didn't have any major issues. They felt fairly well aligned with the directions of the organization and felt that the organization did a pretty good job of communicating with them about the mission and what have you. What we also discovered, though, was that they're using a balkanized set of technology that doesn't make their jobs any easier. And the conclusion I drew from it is that, gee, if you want to improve company performance, it's not going to be in training. It's not going to be in alignment or engagement. Those things are all pretty well covered. The thing that's going to improve your business is the technology that you're giving your employees to do their job.
This is great. And now already our buddy Alan has a bit of a question here. You want to tackle Alan's question? How about how much employees understand and embrace company vision? Actually, this is a good segue because Alan is actually right on top of something I wanted to pop up because it caught my attention too. And it's, sorry, Alan, I'm going to have to remove you so we can see the actual thing here. So I love this. It's this dashboard. Zoho is like you said, they have the analytics dashboard. So they pop these survey results into the dashboard here. And the thing that caught my attention was just like you were saying, employees overwhelmingly are enjoy their job. They feel it's meaningful work. They have a high satisfaction. But the third one here, or the third one, no visibility on company direction and big picture. And they disagree with that too. So it seems like they're all aligned. All these things are aligned up because maybe they do understand their vision of the company. They do understand how they fit into that vision and how their work fits into that vision. And because of all of that, even though the technology is a bit of a, they don't feel like it's getting it done, at least the companies are doing a certain amount right. They have identified the vision. They have, I guess, shown that vision to the employees. They've connected that vision to what the employees do. And because of all that, at least they've got some of that working for them, even if the technology isn't quite there just yet.
I think that's absolutely true. And I think what it also shows is that employees probably don't know what they're missing. They just know that their jobs are a little bit harder because they have, and I'm doing another bit of research along this same theme for another vendor right now. And what's coming back to us is that, they can have 3, 4, 5 screens open or windows open at the same time. They can have their phones open, trying to pull everything together and do their jobs. And that's just asking an awful lot. And it really shows up in, when you ask people, well, why do you typically lose business? And, the answers they come up with is I didn't have the right information to offer something valuable to the vendor, or I got snookered by a competitor who got there faster with better information. And so that's another reason that my conclusion is that, if we had better tools, we'd be doing better business.
So this study was done kind of towards the beginning of when everything was shutting down, right? I think it was done in like early April or sometime in April.
It was done mostly in April, late March and April.
So that was kind of towards the beginnings of the shutdown. How much of an impact do you think doing this kind of survey in the midst of the shutdown was compared to if, let's say, you did it before everything was shut down and before kind of everybody was focused on, gosh, what are we going to do now? Am I going to keep my job? Am I going to be able to do my job? How much of the impact on the pandemic do you think were on the actual results of this survey?
Well, I think I would like to redo the survey in another 6 months and see, but sort of in the middle of it, people were trying to get used to working at home and not going into the office. And we asked some pointed questions. Do you think this technology that you're using right now is sufficient to help you do your job remotely? And I forget what the numbers were, but I think the majority, maybe not a super majority, but a majority said, yeah, we could probably get through doing our job this way. But another plurality, at least, if not a small majority, said, "Oh, I don't ever expect to have to do this job remotely." So, the die was not totally cast.
Right. And here's another one that kind of caught my attention. Only 4% report that their job is chaotic and difficult to do well. You juxtapose that against the technology thing, and it's in the middle of a pandemic. I find that kind of interesting that only 4% said that their job was chaotic. At least they didn't feel like their job was that chaotic, even though they're going through a very chaotic situation. And their technology doesn't appear to be what they think will really help them do their job. That kind of feels a bit off balance there a little bit.
It does. And, to try to analyze that, I invented a scoring system that proved to be very insightful and influential. Most of the questions were asked, do you agree or disagree, on a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 and 2 were, strongly agree. 4 and 5 were disagree, strongly disagree. 3 in the middle was neutral. And what we discovered was that if you can make a ratio, throw out the neutrals, make a ratio of agree to disagree and over disagree, and you get a number. And what we discovered was that when these people had bad news to report, the neutrals went way up. So, when we were asking a question like, how do you like your job? We had like over 5 to 1. I love my job. And like 20% neutrals. When we asked about technology, we got 2 to 1. And about 38% neutrals. So people really didn't want to give you an answer if it was bad. It was like in the report I say, it's like what your mother used to tell you: if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. And I saw this in the math, and what was interesting to me is that it's legitimate to not have an opinion. However, if we're talking about the job that you do 8 hours a day, not having an opinion is I think a suspect answer.
It almost feels like because we were in the midst of the pandemic, because things were shutting down, people might have been just thankful they had a job and they didn't want to say anything negative at all about the job. And I'm just speculating here, but it will be fascinating. Let's say if you do this 6 months from now and things are, let's say, not exactly where they were before the pandemic, but looking in a good direction, working towards a really good trajectory on that. And people are feeling a little bit more confident about the overall, public health issue, the economy, their job. Do you foresee that kind of environment making people feel more comfortable about being a bit more truthful about whether they like their job or not?
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I think some of the people answering this survey were a little fragile. Fragile from the perspective of, like you say, am I going to have a job in 3 weeks? And so I think returning to that kind of questioning in 6 months, especially if we have a path forward, we know that there's a vaccine that's going to be out shortly. We've done our social distancing and our mask wearing, and the hot spots are way down. Florida looks then like New York looks today. I mean, we didn't have any COVID deaths over the weekend, something like that.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I think, you go out 6 months, and all of those things are true. You can see people being a lot less fragile.
Talk a little bit about what companies should do with this data, knowing that their employees are, for the most part, pretty happy, although there may be a little bit of reasoning for that we just talked about. But what areas will technology help these folks the most to feel even better about their job, to feel like they're able to do their job more effectively? Because it seems like, quite honestly, looking at that study, companies must be doing something right. I mean, they must be, maybe the corporate culture is aligned in a way that employees feel better about, being there and working in that environment. Because it seems to me like those numbers are pretty solid, for even in a pandemic, but even outside of a pandemic, those numbers seem pretty solid. What can the right technology add to those numbers? Because it seems like they're doing pretty good already.
Yeah, the numbers look pretty good, but I think the context you have to look at them in is that, this is a broad-based study. It surveyed a lot of people across North America, including Canada and the United States. And what it kind of says is that everybody's got about, the same level of technological support. Mm-hmm. Now we all know digital disruption is real, and people are working like crazy to understand digital disruption and digitize the business processes that they can to have better results. If you go forward from that proposition, you can easily see a stratification of companies, the ones that do a lot in terms of digital disruption and the ones that don't. And over time, you're going to see winners and relative losers. So I think what this is saying is that now's a good time to adopt technology that can support your users better. It also gives you a place to look at, what are the processes that my people do? What are the processes that require them to be in 4 screens at once in order to get enough information to serve a customer? What are the apps that I'm letting customers use? And, what is the fallout rate? Are my customers using them and liking them, or are they just saying, "Oh, this is terrible," and giving up on it? So it's an important point in time. It's a snapshot in time, a checkpoint. I wouldn't, it's kind of a no man's land. I would say you don't want to be here in a year.
Okay. Right.
You want to be doing something.
Right. Well, you mentioned employees using forest screens, trying to figure out, what they need, what kind of data, where they need it from, what app has it, and they have to kind of do it in real time and quickly in order, particularly if you're a customer facing employee, to handle a request from a customer. But only 10% of those surveyed said that they could confidently get a complete view of the relationship between the company and customer without having to check several systems. That seems like the story of CRM from the very beginning. And only 10% are saying that now. Was that something that were you surprised by that? Or were you not surprised by it because it has been like that forever?
Well, it wasn't surprising per se. It was okay. This is where we are. So, for example, there were single-digit responses to questions like we have we can talk to our applications. We have voice interface,
Right.
or my apps recommend the next best thing to do. Single digits. So,
Mm.
yeah, we've been here before. Maybe things have gone up and down a little bit, but in the 20 years that I've been following CRM, it strikes me that it's only within the last handful of years that we've really had technology that would change the equation. You go back 10, 15 years, and what you had was an application that was pretty much an old-fashioned relational database application. You could add, change, delete. You could get reports, and other than that, you had to apply your own intelligence to figure out who are the what are the deals I need to work on today. For example, there's no next best algorithm lurking. So we have gone a long way in the last 20 years. I think in the last few years we finally started applying analytics and some of the things that we need to actually improve the way we do work.
Let me ask you a question that because it caught me off guard a little bit, and I would love to get your take on it. There was an article, I think it came out over the weekend, and it said that Salesforce and Mark Benioff have surpassed Oracle in terms of market cap valuation. I that just took me aback because 2 or 3 years ago, who would have thought that would ever be the case that this pure CRM company, pure cloud CRM company, that's what they do, and Oracle, who does so many things and covers so many different areas, including CRM, of course. To see Salesforce's market cap past Oracle's, it just surprised me tremendously. What was your take when you saw that?
Well, let me just say that I'm a fan of Salesforce, in case you didn't know, and I'm a fan of Oracle too.
Right.
One of the things that I've always prided myself on is that I'm a technology analyst, not a financial analyst.
Right.
My questions are not, how much money did it make? My questions are, what is it and does it work?
Exactly. Right.
We like that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm enough of a financial guy to know that to a degree, a market cap is a beauty contest, right? It's how many shares have you got outstanding? What does the marketplace think they're worth?
Yep.
And how will they bid them up? So, Oracle or Salesforce has a bigger market cap than Oracle. Okay.
Well, maybe that says more about CRM or customer engagement and the combination of that being in the cloud. Because I think it was a couple years ago, Gartner said that CRM software sales finally overtook database sales. This is a couple years ago. So is this basically just kind of saying that CRM in general has just reached the pinnacle of enterprise software purchasing at this point?
It could, although I will tell you that I'm a huge fan of platforms in all of
Right,
its
right,
guises,
right.
and you know the market could be building this into the price of Salesforce stock.
Yeah,
Not that Oracle doesn't have a good platform,
right.
but uh, I see CRM as being pretty well built out. And the next frontier in CRM is vertical market applications, which is why Salesforce bought Velocity.
Mhm.
And beyond that, it's in what else can we get this platform to make for you to do business better or to do life better or whatever. I've called this the CRMization of society. I wrote this at CRM Buyer a little while ago. And what I mean by that is that if you take a look at what we're doing with COVID, um, one of the more important contact tracing applications in the market today is from Salesforce, and it is a series of Salesforce CRM applications cobbled together and customized for contact tracing.
Right.
And that's just one example. If you if you can go as deep as you want with where CRM is going in society. One of the things I like to point out is that I started my career almost 40 years ago selling a language and a database for the healthcare industry. It was called Mumps.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know it's still in use. I mean, it's been changed. It's had a relational front end put on it and a variety of things, but it's fundamentally it's still in use, and it's it's basically what CRM was 20 years ago. It's a database application, or it produces database applications with rows and columns and reports, add, change, delete, and those applications are insufficient to the need that we have right now in the COVID epidemic. There was an article in the New York Times yesterday about how these apps send out their data through faxes. And faxes are coming through to treatment centers. Just, it's like an old Lucille Ball.
The chocolate thing.
The chocolate thing, right? The faxes are just going on the floor, and stacks and stacks when people, and they don't have enough data or information on them to get the information back to the right doctor or the right patient. It's a mess. I say all this to say that Salesforce is building systems of engagement, systems of intelligence around some of those applications now, so that you can bring their apps on an iPad, a tablet, into a consultation with the patient. You can look up the mumps data. You can get pretty charts and pictures like what you were just showing from Zoho. You get pretty charts and pictures, and you can derive real information and get suggestions for treatment for the patient. So, when I say CRM, we're talking about the CRMization of society. Those are the kinds of things that I think are going to be taking over. It's how do we wrap whatever is out there in a CRM wrapper? I call it the surround strategy, and produce systems of engagement, systems of knowledge, whatever you want to call them, to help society as a whole, not just people trying to sell a market or sell or do customer service.
So does the pandemic accelerate that happening? Does the pandemic make it happen? Because maybe it wouldn't happen without something tremendously impacting our whole way of life, uh, and so rapidly as this has, that people all of a sudden say we have to do something different. We need to do something like this, because maybe without the pandemic they wouldn't even think about it.
True. I think it was Edison, maybe, or it's attributed to Edison, who said necessity is the mother of invention. And if you look at this moment as a significant disruption, typically what happens in a disruption is we go out and we find the things that we have at hand and figure out new and interesting ways to put them together to produce solutions to the existing or to the novel problems. I wrote about this in my last book, The Age of Sustainability, and I think it's true right now. And I see the next few years is going to be very interesting times in the whole disruption thing that is the CRMization of society.
It seems to me like of all the kind of software, let's say software slash platforms, software applications, platforms, CRM is the one that's poised to lead the way, like you're saying with the CRMization thing. Uh, what's it going to take for that to actually happen? What in the environment beyond the pandemic? Uh, what's that going to take for that vision to actually become real?
Well, I think it's becoming real right now. It's in the process of becoming. I think we'll only see it in retrospect in a few years. We'll go back and say, that pandemic, it was really good for it. It started this, and this. And if you think about it, take a look at some of the announcements that Salesforce has made in the last couple of months. Work.com, CRM Anywhere, things that are essentially CRM apps twisted and turned and modified and integrated differently to support some of the very specific things of this era. And I think not just Salesforce, but other vendors also are, Zoho, Oracle, are doing things like this that, for lack of a better word, I'll say, take advantage of the catastrophe.
It's amazing how I kind of like your term CRMization, but to see a company like Salesforce, who was barely 20 years old and built purely in the cloud before it was called the cloud, and has reached about a $20 billion annual run rate. It just seems to me like I'm not seeing any outside of like the Fang kind of businesses. You're not seeing anything outside of like CRM that is doing those kind of big moves. CRM platforms, CRM ish kind of technologies. When you combine things like the commerce into, and you're seeing that a lot of these vendors have made those acquisitions. They bought their commerce piece, and that becomes part of the platform, which is undergirded with CRM, technology.
Right.
Are we missing something, or is there some other kind of technology or some kind of area of technology that could have maybe that kind of trajectory, that kind of impact that we saw kind of start? Like Salesforce wasn't the exact first company, but they were amongst the first to put CRM in the cloud, be very specific about it was actually SFA focused, but that put it in the cloud, stuck it out, became this huge gorilla, and is really shaping the direction to a certain extent of customer engagement. Is there anything else out there that you're seeing that has that potential to do something that we just didn't see when Salesforce and right now and NetSuite were kind of starting down this path?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you what I think is an interesting hypothesis. I think it's been around for a long time, but I think social media fits that bill. And I think social media is right now hamstringing itself and is plateauing, not because it can't go any further, but because it's losing trust. It's losing trust of the user. I think social media doesn't have a really good revenue model or a business model. I mean, it's an advertising model, basically, which is not, I mean, it's a model that does not insert itself very deeply into a company's business, right? I mean, a marketing department might use it to flog a new widget, but it's not integral, from what I can see, to very deep business processes, and it won't be as long as you have to worry about what the Russians are doing or what the Chinese are doing, or can I trust the information that comes out of this?
All right.
So I'm thinking that social media could be the next big thing, but it will require social media to differentiate itself by its business model, and it'll require the professionalization of social media.
That's going to be tough for those groups. Those guys, they're having some issues right now with that.
It will be difficult, but it's been done scores of times, maybe even hundreds of times. When I talk about professionalization, I'm talking about the same level of professionalization that a beautician has, that a plumber has, that a doctor has. They all get certified somehow through education, but they need a license to practice. And getting a license to practice means getting or understanding and demonstrating an understanding of the proper use of whatever the infrastructure is that you're using. So, for example, you don't have to be a plumber to mess with your plumbing in your home. But if you are not a plumber, you cannot pull a permit to go dig up the street. Right? If you can cut your sister's hair, but you can't hang out a shingle and do that professionally unless you've got certification and a license. And I'm saying that social media has to get to that level of professionalism.
Actually, it's still going to be tough because there's so many obstacles that they have to get over, and some of those obstacles they're putting up for themselves, and they don't know how, yeah. We won't
right.
mention any names, but
Mark Zuckerberg is his own worst enemy.
Well, I guess we will mention some names. He is. I totally agree with you, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about one other company. I usually leave them out because I think that for years, I think they've been the most fascinating company. It's hard to compare this company to any other one individual company, and that would be Amazon. What do you see in Amazon's future, and how will that future impact the overall future of business and enterprise, not just consumer, but the actual enterprise? We know it's going to impact the consumer, but how does Amazon play a role, a defining role possibly, in the enterprise going forward?
That's a great question. I think Amazon has not made too many mistakes in the decades that we've been watching them. Jeff Bezos and his team have done some amazing things. First and foremost, by understanding that you can have an infinite store shelf by making it virtual. I think the thing that Amazon hasn't done that it's going to need to do is to open itself up a little bit more, and to sell some of its services to other retailers. It's already doing that to a degree, but it's also competing with them, sometimes on purpose and sometimes accidentally. I think the franchising model developed by McDonald's might be a good fit here, a good model, where at some point, McDonald's still owns some of its stores, but it is primarily a real estate company, right, a provisioner. It is not primarily a company that sells burgers and shakes anymore. It's a company that has the secret sauce and sells the secret sauce to other people that want to get rich. So I think at some point Amazon's going to need to be more in that vein than it is right now. But I don't know enough about their business. It seems like they've been unerring for a long time. I kind of expect Jeff to make the right calls.
Well, they have had some failings, but they have way more wins and big wins. Like I was just talking about, Walmart just recently came out with, I think they call it Walmart Plus, which is kind of their answer to Amazon Prime. People don't realize Amazon Prime has been around since like 2005, and they have closing in on 200 million members. Walmart's got a lot of catching up to do. I mean, that's a far, far, far away goal. And they're just starting down that road. And of course, AWS is, I think they're closing in. Maybe they're bigger than $40 billion annual run rate at this point. And I wish I had the graphic, but there was a graphic that came out of the top 10 retailers in Amazon, and Amazon's market cap value, if I'm not mistaken, is more like 400 billion more than the top 10 combined. And the thing that really stood out, I think at that point in time, Amazon's market cap was 1.4 trillion. Walmart's was 360 something billion. So Amazon's market cap is 1 trillion more than Walmart. That was astounding to me. They're playing in a whole different ballgame.
Oh, it is. It is. I'll never forget. I forget what comic it was when Bezos was getting divorced. It might have been Don Cheadle or somebody like that. No, whatever. Said, boy, I don't get this guy. He just got divorced and he's still the richest man in the world. Yeah. Doing a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I think it was Chris Rock.
That would make sense. Chris, That sounds like something Chris Rock would say.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing, all right, you tell me something. What is the purpose of having Amazon's own delivery service? I mean,
I think it's
like
their secret. I think that's the biggest of all the differentiators. I think they have that may end up being the most important one to build out your. Well, so the whole premise of Amazon, from the very beginning was they knew by asking people to do something they have never done before, which is go online and basically into the ether, put their credit card, information, hit a button, send it out to wherever, and then, 7 days later, expect a book to come. I mean, that's a big leap of faith that they had to ask people to take.
Well, we were all younger then.
Well, yeah, and less jaded, but in order for people to take that leap, Bezos knew he had to have certain things in place, and they had to work right out the gate. You couldn't let people push a button and it didn't work the first time. So all of that was like fulfillment, distribution, and supply chain, making sure everything is in place so that when you did roll it out and you did finally get people to take that leap, it worked. And then it worked so much that they did it over and over and over again. The genius in what Bezos and company did was they didn't stop at, all right, we're able to get them their stuff in 7 days and they're happy. Oh, we're good to go. No, they were already like working on, all right, how do we get it to them in 3 days? How do we get it to them in 2 days? How do we get it to them, in 1 day? And that's what they're working on now. And also, how do we control the cost? How do we control the whole supply chain so that we can guarantee that it will get there when we say it will get there? And we can also control as much of the cost around making sure all that works. So them buying all these fulfillment and distribution centers all over the country, and I guess now they're going all over the world. relying less on UPS because UPS messed up that one year, and I think it was that Valentine's Day of, I forget, it was 2012 or something, where people
Oh, yeah.
ordered stuff, yeah, and they expect their stuff to get there, in time for Valentine's Day. Or what's the point? So UPS messed up, and guess who got the blame? Amazon, because people bought from Amazon, so they're able to build out, their Amazon shipping and Amazon freight. They're able to control more of the overall experience because we all know now people's customer experience doesn't, Amazon gets dinged if UPS is late. People don't care about UPS being late. They've ordered from Amazon. So they're able to control more of the experience, and that allows them to compete on a scale that it's hard for anybody else to do. So I think that, owning as much of that fulfillment and distribution, along with having that Amazon Prime membership, that's an unbeatable combination.
Yeah. Well, thanks for explaining that to me. I had my doubts.
I mean, I was just, you can even go on the Amazon website right now, and you can see your very first order. You can go to your order history and you can see your whole order history for the most part. But I can go right now and know that my very first Amazon purchase was a book. I think it was Amazon, no, it was Adobe Photoshop for Dummies or something like that. I bought it in 97. Where else can you go to a store and ask them, tell me what my first purchase was with your store? There's just no other. So they knew from the beginning around, data and analytics and fulfillment and distribution and customer focus. And it's hard to compete with a company that has that built into their DNA, and you're trying to kind of retrofit it into yours. So
I would agree with that. Retrofitting is painful and very frequently doesn't work.
no, but you have to do it, or else you'll just lose faster, I guess. So,
Right.
but
Right. You gotta try.
yeah, you got to try. But man, I went off on a tangent on that one. Sorry about that.
That was good. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot from our conversation, beyond just your recent research, because that's always great. But it's always great talking to you and getting your perspective on the big picture and what's going on in the industry and what's driving things. So, where can people go to learn more about what you've done here with the research, but all the other stuff you do?
Wings over shoes. What's that mean?
Yeah, Chris, Chris is like, way too funny. It goes over my head a lot of times. But
Is that
wings over? Oh, are they getting sued a lot? I don't know. You're gonna have to explain that one, Chris. We're both of us want to know what that means.
yeah? Was that a McCartney album? I don't know.
We can ask Steve. Oh wait, here it is.
Wings
Suez. Wings over Suez took 9 months to get.
Okay.
Oh, what? 9 months? What?
This is aerial reconnaissance photograph.
Wow.
Buckholz is really into aerial stuff. And
Oh yeah, well he's definitely that.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, where can people learn more about what you're doing and the research and all that good stuff?
Well, I publish mostly at CRM Buyer these days, and there's a lot of the things we've mentioned have been published there recently. I haven't updated my website recently, but beagleresearch.com. If you shame me into it, I'll post a few things there as well. And then just watch this space. The next research I have coming out is a study I did for Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud.
Nice.
That tried to understand the philanthropic impulse in American business. And I learned a lot from that, especially just how deep-seated the idea of philanthropy or workplace giving is in the American workplace, irrespective of whether or not some company is, part of the 111 program, for example, the whole Pledge 1% thing. So that'll be out shortly. And then I've got some other studies that are percolating right now too. I'm doing more research right now than I have per year previously. Perhaps it's because of COVID. I'm really glad to be doing it. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad to see you're doing it too. Let me say a quick hello to Rolf here. Rolf is a good friend of all the kind of live streams I'm doing. Adds a lot of perspective. So Rolf, good to see you there. Um, yeah, I'm actually going to be doing a research project too, coming out a little after Labor Day. I'm gonna,
Nice.
yeah, it's actually Zoho sponsored, so give a shout out to them as well. But yeah, this is great, and definitely look forward to doing more of these one-on-ones. Although I enjoyed doing Gilmore Gang too and being a part of that conversation, but it's always good just talk to another horseman.
Hello,
uh,
Will.
there it is. All right, hey, it's been great, and thanks again for making time to do this.
Brent, thanks.
And
It's always good to catch up.
absolutely, and thanks to you guys for checking it out as well. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be watching Amazon tomorrow, as although it actually kind of rolled into a watching Amazon episode just a few minutes ago. But thanks again, and I will see you tomorrow.
Bye.